Okay.
and to the rest of the audience. So how are you guys doing? Long time no see. Sleepy, sleep good. Okay. Okay, right. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Amirul Izzat, and this is my dynamic team members. This is Mr. Hakim, this is Mr. Gus, and this is Mr. JK. Alright, so since that we are last group, so we just do it in a relaxed way. Alright, so this is our title. So let's jump into what I can. Okay, so this is the concept of the DHL. So actually, this company is very good because of they managed to realize that the corporate world is transforming. As we know that before this, all the corporate world is very blood-sucking corporate style. They just focusing on the profit and profit and profit. Now they managed to see that this corporate world already transforming from the profit into more on people consideration. So because of that, they introduce one concept which is they're more focused on how they touch the people's life, how they can contribute a value to people. Alright, so since they are focusing on how they touch the people's value, so that's why they put people as the first factors in whatever the considerations. And this company also very good because of they are very understand the humans' emotions, because we know that humans are in emotions in nature. So that's why they create this kind of relationships amongst them. So they perceive their employee as a big family. Then, and the other one is that humans love to feel a sense of belonging. So that's why they create, we call it circle of safety. So that's why people feel safe to work among others. And yeah, they are focusing on long-term success instead of they are focusing on short-term success. And finally, this concept is focusing on boss eat last. So it means that employee should come first and boss should be last. Okay? Okay. So as usual, any methods have their own advantages and disadvantages. So the first criticism is that it against the concept of hierarchy, which is already established since centuries. So we know that people's sometimes very reluctant to change, so they want to keep whatever they practice for a long time before. So that's why it's against the concept of hierarchy. The next thing is that it's aligned with the religious concept, which is sometimes it cannot be accepted to a certain modern societies. And yeah, this ones cannot be suited for everybody. This is the fact that we need to set that it's not suited to everybody. And the advantages of this system is that it suits with human emotions, because of humans is in emotions in nature, and after that people's being recognized and being appreciated is what all people's like. Yeah, again, sense of belonging is what I mentioned just now. So they create a circle of safety, and it improves the performance through by fulfilling the humans' emotions. Next one is that other than so there's actually other example other than this company we known as M7 technology company, which is they managed to adopt this kind of methods and it proved. Michael Gavin, the CEO, has managed to duplicate the system, and they proceed with the implementation, and the productivity increased from time to time. And this company also has been awarded as a Ohio Employer of the Year in 2010. Okay, so this is a quote from the Bob Chapman. So for the next slides, Hakim going to take over. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon. So I'm Hakim. So I will be presenting whether should we as a group choose truly human leadership and compare it with two other conventional styles with autocratic and democratic. So in our group's opinion, truly human leadership may not be the best approach for all organizations. One has to really look into consideration some of the factors of the organization itself before you adopt a particular leadership style. So for example, in this particular quadrant, we have to look in terms of the traditions, the organizational culture, the shared values and as well as the organization philosophy of the organization. For example, if the organization has a short-term goal in order to generate profits, they want to leverage on a short-term competitive advantage, truly human leadership may not be the best solution. Perhaps autocratic leadership style may be the best leadership style for that particular short term. So one also has to look into the personal backgrounds of the managers in the organization, because different managers have different backgrounds, different personality traits, different knowledge, different experience, different values, different work ethics. So all these personal backgrounds will influence the personal leadership styles of the manager, and these may not be aligned with the overall organizational practice if the organization decided to adopt this truly human leadership. And of course, this will result in a personal bias in making the decisions of the manager. After looking at the manager, we have to look at the staff. If there is a cultural diversity in the workplace, so one have to understand that every people will try to respond in a different style. Different people may have the same color of hair, but you will always respond differently to different leadership styles of different manager. And, one more. Okay, and of course you have to look at which industry the organization is in. Because if we believe that military precision products are required in a company, for example, construction industry, there must be a clear hierarchy established between the supervisors and the workers. Because when it comes to safety, you really need to make sure you have a lot of quality control, you have a lot of reviews from the managers to the supervisor's job. So this construction, this constant QC is needed, because if you practice truly human leadership, the workers themselves may feel a sense of not confident enough with their own work if the supervisor keeps checking and rechecking their work. And of course, in order to make my point even better, we have to try and compare it with two other conventional styles, which is autocratic and democratic. So I will just focus only on the decision-making part and probably the staff personal satisfaction, because there are a lot of categories, I think about 8 or 9 categories, where we tend to compare the truly human leadership and both the leadership styles. So in terms of decision-making, truly human leadership emphasizes the individual empowerment in order to make the decisions. While in the autocratic leadership style, the managers are the one who is usually entrusted to really make the decisions in terms of the whole population. While democratic is always about team decision, team empowerment in order to make decisions. And if you have a leader in that particular team, the leader will always try to extract all the input from the whole group before making the final executive decision. And in terms of staff personal satisfaction, both truly human leadership and democratic will have high personal satisfaction because you empower the individuals themselves from the passion, from their own confidence in making decision-making abilities. Well, autocratic will always have the less satisfaction for the personal staff because the managers will try to make their own decisions and try to usually make the credit from themselves. So I think that's all. Perhaps I should pass it to my next colleague. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon class. My name is Gus and I'll be presenting on the motivational theories. As you all can see, I have already put down all the points that have been practiced by Bob Chapman. That is the Maslow hierarchy of need, Herzberg two-factor of theory, and the last one is equity theory. But I'm not really going to explain much on all this theory because it's pretty much boring, but we're going to look into what is the real application that they put in the real working life. As you can see in the equity theory, for example, Bob Chapman has already in one of the case studies we have covered, they have done a few company acquisition, and one of the company they found that the employee are less motivated and their facial expression changes when the moment the clock ticks at 8 o'clock in the morning where they're supposed to start at work. So what he did was, he said, let's say if I motivate them by giving them reward, giving them a challenge for them to do something, then once they achieve that KPI, then we'll just give them some kind of reward. So in other words, by trying to induce the satisfaction, we need to make sure that they are being rewarded with the same input that they give. We need to reward them an output with the same input that they give in their work. And as we go back to Maslow's hierarchy of need, as we can see here, like my partner has already mentioned earlier, we human beings are emotional creatures. So we need a sense of certain basic needs that we need to cover in our workplace, especially in our workplace. And if you ask me, Maslow's hierarchy, Herzberg, and equity, these are not being practiced separately. I could say that this could be a combination of all three at the same time, because if you look into just Maslow itself, there is no empirical evidence that everyone has the same hierarchy of needs. Then, and also same goes to Herzberg factor of theory. Some people, they say that, no, I'm okay with my workplace. I don't see that hygiene factor is much of a problem for me. But some people do. And again, on equity theory as well, it depends on situation. That's where the equity theory actually falls apart. So in our group's opinion, we have already discussed, we think that this is not only being practiced by Bob Chapman one at a time, but it is a combination of these three possible theories because they have their own limitation in their workplace. So next I'll pass to my partner on the next part.
Good evening, Dr. Suryap and everyone. I'm going to explain for the recommendation for organization culture and method to manage the change. First of all, organization culture can form as a protection for the corporation and also increase the intention for the corporate culture should focus more on this organization culture than the profit revenue of the companies. For methods to manage the cultural change, I have 3 points. These 3 points is related to the time water metaphor, meaning that change involves unfreeze, change, and refreeze back. First, we need to do is to set tunes from the top management, and it needs to be done by the managerial level, managerial behavior. The leader should set the company principle and value to tally with the business objective and the business model. And they are responsible, the leader himself is the one that responsible to develop a culture, to influence every team member to have their own responsibility to follow it. For example, when the time I'm in Japan, the culture there is embedded in everyone's personal life to consider for others. For example, during up or down for the staircase, or go in or outside for the trains, they will always have considered to others that maybe someone need to rush for the meeting, so they will stand at the left side and then let the right side for the urgent people. And this culture might not be implemented in Malaysia, but it can be set tunes from the top. For example, maybe for Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Seri Najib Razak, maybe can start to implement some our Malaysia culture by commercial video or other mediums, so that can implement culture within the Malaysia. I think this is very important for Malaysia towards the way of a developed country. We still have a lot need to be done in the culture in terms of culture. Next is a new symbol and rituals. The company need to set a new symbol and ritual after the manager has set the tunes from the top. This is a changes need to be done. It will create an environment that first push for the employees to realize and to unfreeze from the status quo, and it is to deliver organization dominance, value, and objective. Third is to change the reward system. After the changes, we need to freeze it back for the changes, for the good changes. So, for example, we can change the reward system by implement offer training or experience, or maybe a yearly trip in a first class or top class hotel in the trips for the employees that adopt to the new company cultures, and this and the change can be last permanently by this step. Next is to overcome the resistance to change. The first one is to communication and training provide this can reduce the resistance to change by helping the team member to see the rationale of the change effort. Number 2, to overcome is participation. The leader should allow team member to express their emotion and feelings. This to increase the involvement and acceptance in their daily work tasks. Number 3 is the leader need to provide mentorship and assistance to the companies, to the employees. This is to manage their fear and anxiety during their work time. This is my part, and thank you. I will pass Gus for the conclusion part. Thank you.
Lastly, in conclusion, we have already decided that the leadership style actually depends on certain kinds of organization, especially what kind of industry that you are in. Also, we also have to consider the human factor where we have different culture, different races, and different ways of working methods. So, as one of my friend already mentioned just now earlier, saying that sometimes different kinds of sector, different kinds of workplace, they require different kinds of leadership. So, THL may be ideal for certain workplace, preferably could be in the service sector, but for manufacturing, we are still considering whether it could be implemented or not. But however, as time changes, the world is getting globalization taking place, a lot of things are actually integrating with each other. I have a feeling that maybe THL can be implemented, but not in the near time future yet. So, at the end of the day, I would just like to quote on Bob Chapman's quote saying that, "Don't you think leadership is about inspiration?" Thank you.